Everybody, welcome to another Friday morning Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach event. So always love doing this call. My name is Dave Savage, CEO of Mortgage Coach. On the call in the leadership role, we have the one and only Todd Bookspan. Welcome to the call, Todd.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Really happy to be here.
Right on. And we are fortunate enough so far to have two top producers in the marketplace, killing it in the marketplace today. Michele Town. Michele, thanks for being here and making time to be a leader on today's call.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
Looking forward to it. And then Jen Duplessis. Jen was part of the original kickoff of this program, and if you've gone through Insane Productivity, you may have heard a few of her modules. Jen, thank you for coming here and being a leader today.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. So everyone, one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure we're serving you as a mortgage professional, a mortgage coach going through Insane Productivity. So it's always important to know what module you're on, so we get a feel for who's on the call and where you're at. 56% of you have voted, so the closer we can get to 100%, the better. So if you have not voted and clicked that button, please click it. Let us know where you're at. Again, this is a mastermind, so the more participation from everybody, the more valuable this conversation is. Okay, 62%. So here are the results, everyone. It looks like everybody's going through, I don't know, over 60% are going through it again. 25% are on the home stretch. Nobody is in the first few modules, and it looks like we've got some folks, still in the 5 to 8. So thanks for hitting that button. For those of you that didn't hit the button, you get another chance to be active and participate. I do want to give everybody the opportunity, if you have a specific question to Insane Productivity, ask it now, because we're going to do this call in two parts. Pure Insane Productivity, first might be 5 minutes, might be 15 minutes, and then we're going to pivot to, hey, we're in the mortgage industry and we're all using Insane Productivity as a framework and as a, call it effectiveness tools. How do we leverage those tools as mortgage professionals? So if you have a question, raise your hand right now, and we will unmute you and bring you into the audience. Also, you can put your questions in the question part. Todd Bookspan, anything you want to add to that, and giving folks a chance to give feedback or ask questions?
Well, I just would encourage you guys to jump in and participate. We always get together before the call. We have the call before the call, and we kind of talk about it. And I always say it, the more we hear from all of you, it just seems like the better the call goes. It goes a different direction than we were going, and that's what it's all about. It's super impressive to see that 2/3 of you are actually going through this program again, and that most of you are in the end part. There's only a handful of you that are in the first half, and there's no whammies. I always tell everyone that we're not going to spoil anything for you, and I know Michele's got something she's focused on today, which is out of Module 8, and so I would love to, without any other questions from the crew or any hands up, I'd love Michele to talk about what she's got going on today.
Thank you so much, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy end of the March madness. I'm so excited March is over. I know last week I kind of told everybody that I had started a partnership. I don't know if I actually told everybody. I know Todd knows. I started a partnership about 6 months ago, and it ended abruptly 2 weeks ago. So it was a lot of craziness for the last couple weeks for me to reorganize. But I went back to modules 7 and 8 because those two modules really helped me kind of refocus. And I want to thank Todd so much. I'm going to call you out for helping me this week. Help me just
Hey, am I the only one that's losing Michele, or is other people that's losing Michele also?
I'm losing Michele. I was wondering if it was my phone. I was like, okay, do I hang up and dial back in? So maybe we need Michele. She was just giving a shout out to me,
Hey, Michele, we're losing you. Your connection is not coming through that well.
Oh, it is? Okay, you know what? I'm going to switch over into the phone, so I'll call back in. Why don't you guys talk on, and I'll call back in on the phone module.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
And then real quick, what I want to do is I see a few questions that have come up. One, Katie, you have been unmuted. I would love to know what module you're on, and do you have any questions or any success stories with Mortgage Coach so far? Katie.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Great, awesome. Sorry, you cut out in the beginning, so I'm not sure what the question was.
Oh, yeah, I would love to know what module you're on, and then also, do you have any questions or success stories so far from an Insane Productivity standpoint?
Yeah, so I am, for the last couple weeks, unfortunately, this has not been my priority, so I am getting back on the saddle, and hopefully we'll, get focused again and plug in and obviously catch up on my modules. I'm on module 3, and any success stories with the Insane Productivity, I think it's just conversations that I'm having with my business partners that are kind of getting them in the same mindset and getting them more focused. It's kind of been a crazy first quarter of the year, and so I think that people are just kind of losing focus on their goals and trying to figure out their business. And so I think that, me sharing with what I'm going through has been able to help them and, like I said, get them back on track. We're having really good conversations about, what we're doing, our daily disciplines, and, focus time, and that sort of thing. So really that's it. And then I think you said something about Mortgage Coach and success. Did you say success stories around that?
Yeah, that's fine if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your mic. Anything you want to share that would be a success story would be great.
Yeah, so I had actually just yesterday, I've been competing with another lender on getting a client, and I put together a Mortgage Coach presentation and delivered it in a way, and he was totally wowed by it, just because I don't think he was getting the same from the other lender. And I was able to compare, the different loan programs and just what Mortgage Coach does, and we did some different things to show how quickly they could pay it down and, that sort of thing. And I definitely think that helped me win the business. Not always do we have to compete, so fiercely, but that definitely helped earn me the business. So, yeah, it was awesome.
That's great. What is your biggest struggle today? If you had one or two things that are just the biggest challenge to achieving your goals today, what would they be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's my daily disciplines, just getting back into doing my daily activities that I know, reading my goals, journaling, that sort of thing. I had some health issues the end of last year, and I'm still kind of struggling with that and my energy levels. So it's been a challenge for me just to stay focused and stay committed to those things that are important to me, and really just getting back into those daily habits.
Right on. Well, hey, Katie, thank you for jumping in and saying something. If anything else comes to mind, unmute yourself, and we're here to serve and help you have the best year ever. So
awesome. Thanks, Dave.
No problem. Again, if anybody else wants to raise your hand, looks like Troy. Troy, you either have a question, comment.
I have a comment on that one.
What do you got?
On Katie's post, Dave, real quick. One thing, Katie, is I would recommend going back and listening to the session a couple weeks ago on Tuesday with Greg Wingard. Was it Dave?
Oh yeah, Greg Wingard.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I re-listened to it, Katie. It's one thing you mentioned was starting in the morning, just 15 minutes in the morning, just to clear your head and journal and just get ready for the day. And I actually started that this week, and he gave that challenge in there, and it helps you focus, because when you walk out of there into your office, you walk in with that mindset of professionalism rather than just walking in unprepared. There's that little 15-minute buffers. I've noticed a lot of productivity increase and a lot more focus throughout the entire day.
Well, that's great to hear, and I'm sure Greg would love hearing that you got a takeaway from that call. Greg is, God, what's the best way to describe him? He is a change agent. You know, he specializes in working at the C-suite at large organizations, mostly outside of the mortgage industry. So, I mean, he's worked with a lot of very large companies, Intel, you know, helping create change, and he works with a very large lender in the industry, UAMC and the Eagle brand. That's how I got to meet him. But really great call, I thought, that he had, and I'm glad that you got a takeaway from it. And if anybody, I would say, you know, well, there's a lot of personal things that come from that call. If you're trying to create change within a bigger organization, you know, like a culture that creates change, definitely a call worth listening to. Cool. That's awesome. Anyone else? And by the way, Troy, if anything else comes up, let me know. I'll unmute you again, and thank you for jumping in and adding some value.
Will do, Dave. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Michele, are you back yet? Okay. Doesn't look like Michelle's back on the grid. So let's transition to, you know, what's going on in the mortgage industry and struggles that we're having. You know, Jen, I know in preparation for the call you had emailed the team with some ideas. Why don't you go ahead and frame a challenge that you're having, and let's have a conversation around it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. You know, it's a challenge that I don't know if it's going to be specific to my area or not, because I'm not real sure what everyone's experiencing around the country. But we have some unbelievably fierce competition when it comes to properties. So I'm going to just frame it for you. So last week, most of my loans are, my average loan amount is $647. So most of my loans are in the, you know, this upper echelon. And, you know, it's kind of been a sleeping market. You know, most of the activity's been in the 450 to 550, maybe even 600 range for purchases. And then, of course, you know, the over 2 million market, that's never changed, thankfully. That continues to go great for me. But this mid-market, which in our area is middle income, okay, and it's also first-time homebuyers. But this market has become so fierce. And so I'll give you an example. Last week, I had a client that offered, and a perfect client, 20% down, 802. And I'll be doggone if there were 17 offers on this property, and they didn't get it. So I called the listing agent, and I said, you know, because I always call the listing agent anyway, right after I write my pre-approval letters. And I called and I said, you know, how do we rank on this? I'm just curious, because this is their fourth offer. They're very frustrated, and the temptation and what we've been experiencing lately is, you know what, I can't do this. I'm just going to rent. And even though we, you know, have shared rent versus own comparisons with the TCA, but 17 offers, and we were 16. We ranked 16th, almost at the bottom. And I said, why? What were the deal? And she said 16 and 17 were offers that had financing contingencies. I said, oh, that's kind of weird, because most contracts do. So what I'm finding out, what I found out through that process, and since then it's happened a second time, which means it'll probably happen a third time too. So the offer that was taken, it was elevated to, the house is on the market for $625. It was elevated to $675. So it was a $50,000 acceleration clause. If it went to $675, no appraisal contingency, no financing contingency, no home inspection. And when I asked about the appraisal contingency, what I'm now seeing, and this will be now the fourth contract I've received Insane, is that as long as the appraisal doesn't come in more than $15,000, $20,000, and even $30,000 below the agreed upon purchase price, the buyer will still buy the house. So I mean, it's very fierce. I'm like, well, what else can you do? You know, it was a 5-day or 15-day closing. I mean, it's just all kinds of silly things. And so what we decided to do is that we've tried to encourage our clients to completely get a full written credit-only underwritten approval with us now, and that's going to be the only way that they're going to be able to compete. So I'm curious if that's a challenge for everyone else, because the challenge I see, and we've been in this world before, well, who I worked with before, we would do that as just a normal course of business. And the challenge I see is that it's a lot of work for us. It's a lot of work for my team. It's a lot of work for our support staff to have a borrower go through that much process and then decide they want to go seek out other lenders, because you know sometimes in the approval process, the pre-approval process, even though I issue a pre-approval, when I say, okay, great, when's the contract coming in? They go, oh, well, you know, we're kind of looking around. I mean, really? Are you kidding me after all this work? But, you know, and that happens. We're used to it. I don't want that to happen with using my staff the way that we are. So I just want some input on what everyone else is seeing, if they're seeing this shift happening.
Yeah, so first of all, Jen, major kudos to you for, you know, drilling down into the detail, following up, getting feedback. I think that's a lesson for everyone. Are we doing that? I know I had an actual realtor as my interview this Tuesday. I interviewed realtor Glenn Bill. I think he does like 120, 30 transactions a year. In preparation for that interview, I also reached out to a bunch of other realtors, just trying to get advice. So, I mean, one, I hope a takeaway for everyone is, you know, every market's different. Your realtors are different. You know, are you communicating and getting advice from them so that you can win? I actually just am showing a comment that was from this is a realtor that does, I think, 130 transactions a year. And she was talking about how important it was for, you know, the lender, the loan officer, to reach out on their behalf and, you know, let them know that it's vetted. So that's come up a lot. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to get some hands. Hands come up, whether you can kind of jump on the bandwagon with Jen and say, yeah, I'm seeing the same thing and I'm doing the same thing. Or if you want to just comment through chat. So far, no hands have come up. Michele, are you back yet? Oh, Michele doesn't look like she's back.
I don't see her. Yeah, I don't see her.
You know, I can probably jump in from I was hoping someone else would have some perspective. Oh, we got some hands up. So let's go with, why don't you call on some? We got JC's hand up. Dave, you want to unmute him and let him?
Hey, JC, your hand is up. What's up?
Hey, how's it going? Good to hear.
Doing good, man.
I'm so glad that I'm not alone in that challenge that's out there. I have a very similar market playing in a ski resort. You know, the entry level is 800 to 900,000, and there's just no inventory there. So we're running into the same thing too. And it's I like what you're doing to combat that. And you're right, it is a ton of extra work. But what we've been communicating to our business partners is, look, we're willing to do this until, you know, something gets built. We're really diving deep with those relationships so that they know that we're invested in their success as well. We've staffed up a little bit to help us get the credit approvals done without killing some of our other support staff. And it's really taken some of our good relationships with business partners to great relationships. Just the fact that we were proactive and reached out to them and said, hey, here's the challenge, here's what we want to do, what's your thought process on it? Most of the response was, whoa, really? You guys are going to do that? We've started to pick up additional relationships because of it, simply from word of mouth and the sales meetings and things like that. So although it's not an ideal situation for lenders to have to credit approve everything that comes back and write an approval letter that says, hey, all I need is clear title and an appraisal, it kind of is what it is at this point, so we're just trying to adjust to it.
Yeah, I really appreciate your feedback, and calling my agents on a few of them, and really specifically, unfortunately, I have 5 clients that are competing for the same price point in the same area, and so I just reached out to all of them and the agents and did exactly what you're suggesting, saying, look, and I think that our competitive advantage is that we figure out, a way that we can do this better. And ironically, this came up, and next Thursday, I'll be on a panel, because I suggested it at my Association of Realtors, and we're, I don't know exact name of it, but it's sort of like getting the information from the horse's mouth, and it's three prominent lenders in the area that are giving feedback on how we want to be communicated with through these difficult times, that it's not just enough to have a realtor call and say, hey, can you close in 25 days, or can you close by this day? There's so much more that needs to be addressed in the negotiation process that they don't realize how much of an impact we can have on the performance that all of us and the customer experience that we're providing to the buyer, that even makes them look good. And so I had said, well, gosh, let's do something. Let's do something from the horse's mouth. And so we're doing something like that. And I agree. But it's, I think I'm just worried about what's going to happen with my team, feeling like they're doing a lot of work for something that might go away. And because I'm in the early stages of this, I don't have any data to prove otherwise. So if anyone has any further data that they'd like to share on the side sometime, please let me know. I just want to make sure if it's something you want to do. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, hey,
and we are not all on an island, by the way.
Yeah, right.
None of us.
So JC,
yeah.
Hey, JC, I'll put you back on mute, but if you have more to add, re-raise your hand. And then Katie, you raised your hand. Did you have something to add to this or a question?
No. So I really just wanted to say I'm kind of going through the same thing that she's going through. Yeah, that's all. I just was interested in really hearing from other people and getting their feedback.
Okay, good. Well, re-raise your hand if something else comes up or you have a question.
Thank you.
All right. So, again, I've lowered everybody's hands. If someone wants to add on to that or ask more questions, I will just say that I'm hearing that across the country. I mean, I'm sure there's some market that might be immune to this challenge. I'm going to be in Iowa next week speaking, and so I'm curious in the part of Iowa that I'm going to be in if that's a problem. If anybody from Iowa is on this call, let us know what's up. But
Dave?
Yeah.
I was going to say, are you going to be in Atlanta too?
I'm not going to make Atlanta, but Joe is going to be in Atlanta. I've got a conflict.
Okay. I'll be curious to see what happens there too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, Jen, let's sync up because Joe's giving a keynote, and also we're supposed to host a panel. Joe is that we might not be able to. So if you don't mind, let's you and I talk after this call. I might need some help, and we should collaborate.
Yeah, because I'm speaking there as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll sync up after. Hey, I wanted to throw one more strategy because I've been hearing this across the market. I've been having lots of conversations with mortgage coach loan officers about it. Danny Harani and I actually had a conversation a couple days ago where he was talking about how his counteroffer analysis, which he's been doing forever, but how it's even more valuable today. And the short, just the quick brief on the counter analysis, that's a service that the Gaylord Hanson team has been doing for years, that when a buyer is making an offer and the seller, wants $10,000 more or whatever, they want more than what the buyer wants to pay, Danny and team will do a total cost analysis to make it clear to the buyer that, that $10,000 or that $20,000 in purchase price, when you really look at it over the cost of time, it's not that much. And when you look at it, it's a risk that values are going to go up more or that rates are going to go up more. It becomes nothing. It goes away. It's to the point where it's not even an issue. By the way, someone is creating some background that everybody can mute their phone. Yeah, thanks. So Danny was saying, like, in this market, this should just be a requirement. because you want every buyer to have the maximum chance of getting the deal, even if it's paying over listing price, that they really need to do a total cost analysis so they can see, hey, if I don't get this home and rates go up a quarter or rates go up a half, or if I end up having to pay even 5% more on my next home, this making this like a standard process with every buyer. To your point, Jen, I would recommend, from what I've heard, pre-approving people and doing a TCA with that family to get them to realize that, even paying over list price can make sense. If you think you're going to be making a listing on a property with, more than 5 offers, you want to be number one, using the counter offer analysis as an approach. Any comments on that, Jen? And are you familiar with this strategy that the Gaylord Hanson team has? Jen. Hey, Todd, are you still here?
I am still here. I am still here. I was like, all right, we're having just some technical difficulties. I haven't seen Danny do that, but I think it's genius, right? I mean, ultimately, in the end, not every client's in a financial position to go above the asking price, and some people, just get frustrated by that idea. And I always try to explain to a client that it's really not about what the list price is and what you're paying. It's really about what is the value to you. And when Jen's talking about people going, waiving appraisal contingencies and that portion of it, I mean, again, it's an appraisal's an opinion that's looking backwards 90 days, and in a hot market like that, it's almost irrelevant because they're not, the appraisals typically aren't keeping up with, what's going on in the marketplace. And I'm absolutely seeing what they're talking about. I'd be interested to see. I can't remember where Jen is located, or JC. I would love maybe them to throw that into the question so we can let people know, because I think that's one of the things that people are, when I'm talking to my clients, I think most of you on the call know I'm a coach with Building Champions, and I've got clients all over the country, and it's whenever I tell them a story of someone else, they're like, wow, where is that market? And I've got clients all over the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast, and up in Seattle down to the South. So they're all experiencing this in different degrees and different price ranges. But I think ultimately it's just interesting to see that it's not unique. I've got a client in Denver, and their price point's $300,000, so it's not quite as nice as Jen's in the mid 600s. But he said they had a deal last weekend with 61 offers on it. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And we talk about insane.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, I blew up this analysis so you guys can see it in a little more detail, where Danny is saying, hey, here's this price with this down payment. If the price goes up, if the rate goes up 0.375%, he's showing it, at the different purchase prices, different rate increases, and really helping the family, make the right decision if they want to get the property. Do you want to be, one of the top 3 offers, or do you want to be one of the bottom 3 offers? Get pre-approved and be ready to pay to get the property, or not. Be informed. Jen, you're
so
back.
This is Jen. Yeah. I was there the whole time. For some reason, I couldn't get myself unmuted. I already do that. In fact, we did that. I used a total cost analysis at the list price, and then at $25,000 increments for them, so that they could see that. So they were perfectly willing to go there. They just didn't know what the other offers were. So when they did their escalation, it wasn't as high. And I do use that quite a bit. It's not about the price, it's about the payment. And the thing that's important for my clients to understand is that for the seller, it's about every penny. It is totally about that. For the client, it isn't. So I actually created an Excel document that they can use, so they don't have to call me all the time and ask me that, so that they can do that same analysis themselves, just on the difference in the P&I at different price points. But this specific one, I'll be happy to share it up on the Facebook page. I'll share the actual TCA that I did for them, because I wanted them to understand that it didn't make a big difference in down payment, and it doesn't make a big difference in the payment as much as they think it does, And so I'm definitely showing them that. And in fact, I wanted to also say, The credit-only approvals that are being done at their height, at the highest point that the client can qualify, so that we don't have any escalations that would hurt our approval contingency requirements.
Got it. Love it. Again, great topic. And as everybody can see, in our Facebook private group, I have posted Danny's video. I mean, it's only like 5 minutes, so it's a super easy homework assignment. And then I've asked Danny and Jen to share recent counter-op analysis in comments. So hopefully everybody will have some samples of those. And if you're on this call and you're doing a strategy like this or similar to this, please, keep what makes this group great is you. It's your engagement, your involvement, your participation. So we're at the 30-minute mark. We're just about halfway into this call. Michele Town is having some challenges, dialing in. Michele, we'll give you one more chance. Have you showed up yet, able to mute?
Shoot.
And by the way, Michele, I know you can hear that you're having a problem with your mic. You can have as many chances as you want. So feel free to text me if you end up getting back into the call, or you feel like or just jump in, interrupt us, let us know you're here. So Todd, I'm going to pass it back to you to either add commentary on this topic or ask more questions. And then Jen, feel free to keep it coming as it goes.
Thank you.
I would just throw out there, even if you're one of the handful of people who's not having these challenges in your marketplace, or if you are, I would be thinking about what are the strategies you're hearing about that you aren't currently using in your business that you should probably learn to swipe and deploy. And so what I tend to find is oftentimes people say, oh, that's a really good idea, but they're not doing it. And these aren't that difficult, right? To pick up the phone and call the listing agent isn't that difficult. To use a script that tells your clients, we're going to get your loan pre-underwritten ahead of time so that you look like you're in a stronger position isn't that difficult to do. Some companies don't love that process, so you obviously want to vet that with your company. I just had a client who sent out an email to his realtors educating them, right, here's what I'm doing to help you in this market to get our offers accepted. And my suggestion to him was to actually do a video, because he's into video. That was him introducing himself to the clients, letting them know, hey, this is what I do in your market to differentiate myself, so that his realtors could forward it to their potential clients to use that to get their clients away from whoever their current lender is and over to him, because he's doing such an excellent job of helping clients win this. It's a little different. My team operates in Arizona. In Arizona, the market's actually not bad. We're not having all these same exact pains, except for the $300,000 and below market, which is really the heart of the market. My team's average loan amount's about $210,000, and so in that price range, there's definitely multiple offers and all that, but it's nothing for us like it was a few years ago, where we had about a half a dozen hedge funds, stroking big checks, cash for deals, and it's really hard to compete with a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund that's paying cash with your client, regardless of what their loan is, unless on the off chance it's somebody who doesn't want a hedge fund to own their house. They actually want to see a family live in their home going forward. And so that was the only thing that we had in there. The other suggestion I would throw out there, which I don't think I heard, was cover letters. I've had a really good success with families, including the cover letter, right? Big color photo of, them and their kids smack in the middle of it. Here's who wants to live in your house, and here's why we loved it. And that's worked out pretty well. My brother-in-law recently bought a home, and I thought it was great because I knew the listing agent. And so I told the listing agent, hey, I know you're getting, it was over 10 offers on the house. And I said, anything that you can do to help him out. Again, he's pre-underwritten. We had called the listing agent, all the things that Jen says she does. And the funny part about it was, in the end, the reason their offer got accepted is because when he brought his kids, the owner was there, and the owner saw his kids and said, I don't know who, I want that family that was here on Thursday night with those kids. That's who I want to live in our home, because these people had grown up, their family had grown up in that home, and they wanted to see it. So don't ever underestimate the power of that connection, because they weren't the highest or best offer in that case. I don't think there's anything else. What else am I leaving out, guys? Who else has a suggestion of something that hasn't been heard? I think we've heard most of it. Anyone else on the call willing to raise their hand and give any other suggestion, or maybe a success story of working with multiple offer situation.
Yeah. Also, folks, we did get a weigh-in from Danny. While Danny is unable to make the call, he heard from Jen around this topic, and I have posted, I'm not going to read it out loud, but I have posted his commentary on it. So guys, let's just go through the list of what the best practices are. Having the firmest possible approval, communicating, on behalf of the buyer with the agent. So just the quality of your communication, and how you are able to communicate effectively with that listing agent matters. And doing a total cost analysis for the buyer so that they are, they're willing to pay whatever the most they can and will pay. You're helping them make a confident decision. You're not doing it to try to influence or push them to buy something outside of their comfort zone, but you are there to say, hey, what do you think the risk of rates going up is over the next 3 months, that if you don't get this home, 3 to 6 months, what's the rate risk? What's the increased risk of what you're going to need to pay to get the home you want, because we're in this marketplace? And you're there to just help them make a confident decision and give them the visibility to do that. So those are the 3 big ideas so far. Anybody else have another big idea or some commentary? And then,
one more thing I'll throw in there in absence while we wait for some brave soul to raise their hand. My current home is under contract to be sold, and my whole goal with our strategy was, because it's a unique house, was to get more than one offer. Hoping that we could drive up whatever other offer that we got. And it was interesting because my agent was pretty tight-lipped about what was important to us, and so as soon as the other party understood that there was a second offer in, then they counteroffered before we even counteroffered, and their counteroffer was a $10,000 escalation clause over any verifiable transaction, offer. And then they also did 2 other things that were unique. They shortened up the close of escrow so that it would give us the ability to obviously cash out quicker. And then the second piece they did was they offered us 60 days afterwards, post-possession, to live in the home free of rent, free of expense. And it was interesting because they were just trying to figure out what would be important to this family, and they knew we hadn't found a home yet. And so for them, that was something that was a pretty good strategy on their part, because it did give us something to think about, in that counteroffer strategy. And certainly, again, owner occupied, you've got the limits of what Fannie or FHA or VA will allow from an occupancy perspective. But again, I would just be thinking outside of the box. Certainly when it comes to negotiation, you as a lender potentially have the opportunity when you're making that listing agent call to ask that listing agent, oh, well, what's important to your buyer? Because maybe it's close of escrow being shorter or longer. Maybe it's a short post-possession. Maybe it's just some other little something. And my agent was super tight-lipped, and then the house that we're looking at buying, we asked a bunch of questions, literally to the point where we knew he had been negotiating another offer that didn't come through. And my agent asked, well, do you mind if I ask what he countered that at? And they actually told us the price of where the other counteroffer was. And ironically, it was lower than what we were going to originally offer. So we were able to come in and tailor our offer based on information that their buyer's agent, their listing agent should have never given us. And so I would be scripting your realtors to ask questions, and, you never know what kind of crazy answers they're going to get that might help you put your buyer into a better position.
So
Great leadership, Todd.
I'd like to add one thing to that. I do a lot of videos through BombBomb throughout my whole process, my entire process. I do a lot of videos for BombBomb. And as we're sitting here thinking about this, I'm thinking, I make the phone call to the listing agent. I think that's fine. I think I'm going to add, after that phone call, to do a video to the listing agent saying, Sarah, it was great talking to you today about your listing at 123 Any Street. And as I shared with you on our phone call, my clients are really, really excited about this particular home. They've been looking for a while, and really maybe expand on it. And because I do most of my videos in my office, I can even lift a piece of paper and say, I just want to show you, this is their firm commitment. Right? This is their firm commitment, and they're really excited about working with this, and what they love about the house is X, Y, and Z, which I always ask my clients, what do you love about the house? And I think that if she then could share that video with the seller, to get more than just a voice behind the approval and a piece of paper, but rather get a face and a name and some personality. So I just want to throw that out because I think I'm going to implement that right away because that's easy for me. All I got to do is, hey, talk, right? But I just wanted to share that as an option as well.
Hey, Jen, I want to jump on that because, one, I interviewed a great realtor this Tuesday who basically, I want to go down a rabbit trail because I want to come back to this, but he was just talking about how communication is the heart of what every realtor wants from a loan officer. And then he was talking about, how loan officers should be, communicating with agents through Facebook, helping promote them through their social influence. And I've had enough interviews with top producers lately. I mean, BombBomb is good, but for this type of a message, I would really recommend that you consider a Facebook video or using your native phone to just record it and forward the video through text, so that it's personal, it's easy, and it's really easy for them to share it, and it doesn't come across as kind of like a brochure or a marketing piece. So sometimes, again, nothing from BombBomb because I think it's a great video platform. I just know that actually doing videos like that through Facebook or through iMessenger or whatever phone you have, where you just, every phone nowadays you can pick it up, do a video, and you can text it to someone. Yeah. So, but I think that's huge, and even mention to the seller in your message, if you don't talk to them, hey, I'm going to make a quick video, and I urge you to forward this to the seller. I've got a great family that I'm representing. They're well qualified as I've, represented, and, we really want your house. Please forward this and make sure the seller gets to hear from me personally, and even put that as a footnote in your video. I mean, that's a big idea, Jen. Yeah. I love it. So folks, everybody on the call, would love for you to weigh in, but, let's add that to the list, which, by the way, you could do that in the total cost analysis where you're presenting it. That may or may not be in context. And this is a situation where kind of a separate video strategy through Facebook Messenger, BombBomb, or, there's a dozen different ways that you could forward this video to a family or to an agent.
Right. The key is do it, right? That's the key.
Yeah, right. Anybody, by the way, is anybody on the call right now? Because I am just hearing so many people using Facebook Messenger, and now this week Facebook came out with the Facebook camera. So I think that channel is just going to pick up as a communication medium. But is anybody doing that, or anybody want to share? Raise your hand. Hey, Todd, anything you want to add to that?
No, I just think that I think that's all those such great ideas, and I think that even if you don't take 100% of them and run with it, I think you can take 50% of it and improve your business and help your clients have a better shot. So I think that's awesome, and I think what's interesting. I mean, you're talking about new technology like Facebook, and I've been doing listening to a lot of podcasts, and trying to get more up on some of the forward-thinking technology piece of it. So I definitely would love to hear from anyone here who's using any of those strategies with Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat successfully or unsuccessfully, because I think we can all learn from each other in what is good and what's not good, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So hey, we're 15 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm going to do a quick review of the past couple of weeks. We talked about helping agents get move up buyers. So getting a listing, and Danny talked about that, and we posted a video on it. We've talked a lot about the big challenges. We know what those are. They don't bear repeating. I presented something I thought was pretty cool from last week, a conversation between Sheryl Sanborn and the author of Radical Candor. I don't know if anybody listened to it, but I thought it was good stuff. This call I did not this Tuesday, but the previous Tuesday, mastering the lead conversion with Chris Smith, super powerful, and it looks like Florin also loved it, recommended it at the beginning of this call. But again, a great strategy when it comes to reducing rate shopping and winning the deal. I think this call has really been dedicated, I think, to the whole concept that we need to help our buyers be the number one, number two, number three listing. And we talked about, we came up with 4 big ideas to do it. I don't know if they bear repeating. Everybody's got it. And this call is recorded. So if you missed it, you can come back and listen to it. Someone just jumped in. Anybody have something to say? Okay. So, again, you can raise your hand if you have a question. Todd, what I would love for you to do, and Jen, I'd love you to follow up from Todd, but in order to, let's face it, there's 4 big ideas. There's the enhance your process, upgrade your pre-approval process. There is some communication steps that need to be added, do a total cost analysis, make sure you communicate with the agent, add a video to it. What are some of the insane productivity skills and tactics that would need to be implemented to take action on today's call? So, Coach Todd, why don't you give the first run-through as a coach? What advice do we have to turn this into action and using insane productivity skills? And then, Jen, if you don't mind being the anchor to make this actionable.
Absolutely.
I'll jump in with what I think is the obvious idea, but the hardest to implement, which is jam sessions, because ultimately most of my clients and probably most of you on this call are just so busy right now. And the challenge is you're just thinking, well, that's great that they want me to do these things, but when am I going to do it? My guess is if you got off this call or, got up a few minutes early, one day over the weekend, and you just spend even a 30-minute jam session just outlining how you can implement the process or recording your first videos or whatever that is to push this in, I think that would be the key, and just the whole idea of, you get what you tolerate. I mean, you're going to have to block time to put these things into action. You're going to have to say that this is, huge priority, and I'm going to make 2 time blocks in any given day when my clients are putting in offers. I'll do a morning time block and an afternoon time block, and I might even have to have a Saturday afternoon time block to, in this market, to help my clients, because it's going to take whatever it takes to make sure that you can schedule those calls and nail it, because it's not a call. It's an easy call to make once you've made it a bunch of times, but it's just not a call where you want to be, on the fly in a busy restaurant. We've all had to do those calls, and, you may have to step out on a Saturday to make that call. But I mean, I would just spend some time thinking through, right, what's my script for that call? What's my process? My company won't let me send a loan ahead of time through underwriting. How else can I package my process and make it compete when someone else has the ability to do that? And I think really, if you look at those 2 concepts, spend the time to plan it out with a jam session, and then, spend the time to schedule it, and don't tolerate anything else during those times. I mean, you've got to be just dog-headed determined that that's one of your vital functions, and that if you don't view that as one of your vital functions in that market, if you are having this level of insanity with offers, then you're doing your clients and your realtors a disservice, because it seems to me to be one of the easy ways. If you can help your clients with that frustration. I mean, I heard what Jen said, 5 clients in the same market competing in the same price range. So, it's inevitable too that they may be competing against each other, which is even crazier. But just know that there's that anything that you can do to get that client's offer accepted today, instead of having to do this 5 more times until they get it off, under contract, helps them out, because it lowers their stress level, lowers their fatigue, helps your realtor out because they can focus on the next client to send over to you. And really helps you, because you're not having to make weekly calls and keep in touch with that person and talk them off the ledge when they say they're just going to keep their current house, or when they say they're just going to sign a new lease. It's just one of those things I think you can help protect your business. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think one of the suggestions that I can give, and I would like everybody, although I can't see how everyone's going to raise their hand or whatnot, but I'd like to know what struggles people are having with their jam sessions, because time compression, because of my years with Darren, and because I'm OCD and German, time compression is not a problem for me. And I have a lot of ideas on how to do it, but you mentioned in the beginning, Todd, about the jam sessions being difficult to kind of put together. What I would encourage everyone to do, so that you can get to these great ideas, in quotes, and actually implement them, is to meet with everybody who is part of your team at the office. So, I have a team of people, so I can tell everybody, we are all going to be in a jam session at the same time. Okay, so that's one way that I get it done, is we all jam session at the same time. But if you're in a position where, you know, your processor might have quiet time that's different than you, or you know, or an underwriter is calling you, or whatever the case may be, you know, that's a little bit different situation. It's important that you learn when their quiet times are, because, and I say that, you know, we always talk about what's in it for me versus what's in it from me. I want to make my team and everyone who works with me at my office to be my #1 customer, okay? So if their quiet time is from 10:30 to 11:30, then I will find something else to do during that time if I don't want to make that my quiet time. They get their quiet time first. I work my jam session around that because we have more flexibility than they do, okay? But so what we do in our office is that we have 2 jam sessions a day. One is a 2-hour jam session and the other is a 1-hour jam session. And the 2-hour jam session is all of us doing our own work and not emailing or talking to one another. We turn our emails, we email, but we turn it off. Okay, so if I'm saying if someone's in their quiet time, she turns her email off so the email actually doesn't get delivered, so that when I'm in my jam session, I am not, I don't even have my computer on usually, but I'm not interrupted by ding, bing, whatever, okay? And she's not expecting a response from me until we're done with that session. The second session that we do in the day is a little bit of an overlapped session. It's that everybody has their own 1-hour session and we're all cognizant of that time. And then what we do is we build our huddles around that. So we have our morning huddle, and then we have an afternoon huddle, which they can be on the phone for me if I'm not in the office, but where everyone huddles first, you know, for 10 minutes in the morning, and we huddle for about 15, 20 minutes in the afternoon so that we know what our game plan is for the next day, so that when everyone gets in their huddle the next day, we have a list of what everyone's going to be doing. So I'm helping them create what they're going to be doing during their jam session. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's huge, and I think that's
a lot of
oftentimes
stuff.
the challenge.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great, and I think, you know, I love just hearing that from a leadership perspective, because again, oftentimes that's one of the biggest questions I get from people is, what do I do during that time, and you know, what is that process and that plan? So I think it's huge. I think it's huge that you're doing that. Any other thoughts on that, Dave?
You know, I think it just comes down to, you know, scheduling it. You know, for me, I don't have quite the gift that you do, Jen, of jam sessions. I don't want to say easy, but those types of details are hard. And I just know that if I schedule it in my Outlook, you know, right there, and I label it jam session, I mean, I get happy every time I schedule a jam session. I just feel like a place of creativity, a place of getting things done. And then I put an agenda in the to-do. So I say agenda. I talk about what I'm going to accomplish in that jam session. I document it. I give myself a 30-minute reminder, you know, that it's going to be there. You know, I even make it a different color in Outlook. You know, it's green. You know, green's my favorite color. So it's my favorite color in Outlook. So, you know, that's my process. And I know the only way it doesn't get done is if I give up, if I quit. And even if I miss it for a day, you know, like it happens where, oh, shoot, I forgot it. I drag it and I move it over, you know. So you know, having it be a different color in my Outlook and my calendar is helpful. And just don't give up on it. And I rarely give up on a jam session to do something that's going to improve my personal productivity or our company's success. So kind of one last thought. Oh, go ahead, Jen.
No, I was going to say, you know what, it's funny that you mentioned it. You know, my entire Outlook is color-coded. My jam sessions are blue because it's blueprint time. It's downtime for me to blueprint, okay? And so it's just interesting how everyone looks at them a little different. My closings are yellow because they're happy. For my son, who's on my team, they're green because they're money. You know, I think whatever way you do it. I did want to just say, and I want to make sure everybody heard this, Dave, when you're doing your jam session and you're putting an agenda in there, I do the very same thing. I put in exactly what I'm going to be attacking during that jam session. If you only put jam session and you carve out an hour or two and you have nothing in there, you most likely will not do that jam session because you don't know what you're going to do, right? So you just say, you know what, this project needs to be done. I'm going to put it in tomorrow's jam session. So I have a phrase called "Don't erase it, replace it." If you don't do it, you can't delete it. You've got to move it. You can't erase it. You have to replace it so that it emphatically will get done. If you can't do it at that time, because life happens. I get it.
Yeah. So good one, Jen. And again, I'm at my closing thought. I'm gonna hand it back to you, Todd, to close out the call. I posted this quote in my personal Facebook this morning. I always, part of my rhythms of the day are, I wake up, I read, I always do affirmations, I look for great quotes. Sometimes I get them from someone else. Sometimes I write it out myself. Sometimes I get one from someone else and I change it enough that I call it my own. But this was my morning idea that I shared within Yammer to my internal team at Mortgage Coach, and then I shared it to my my bigger community on my Facebook friends, and I would just share it to us right now. We came up with 4 big ideas. If you do have a team, I also recommend you don't just come into that meeting and say, "Hey guys, got 4 big ideas. We're going to implement them. Let's go." And you come in and say, "Hey guys, we got these big problems. I was on this awesome call. I do have some ideas to present, but also I want you guys, do you have ideas how we can solve it?" And that you collaboratively solve the problem. And by the end of that huddle with your team, it's like your ideas are their ideas. And by the way, it is very possible that they're going to come up with an idea that's as good or better than the 4 ideas that we came up with. But the big idea is, as leaders, it's our responsibility that it gets done. It's great that we have ideas, but unless they get done and unless we have a culture where, I'm just going to say it, shit gets done, it's all just conversation. So those are my last thoughts. Todd, I'll let you close it out.
I love that, Dave, and I think that's a great quote because here we're all leaders in some way, even if it's just you and you don't have a true assistant or members of your team. You're still leading those people, and you're in charge of helping them implement and execute on what you've got going. I always love listening to Jen because she's got such great sayings. I love that "don't erase it, replace it," because you heard what Dave said, right? He's not as disciplined as Jen, who's got all these crazy jam sessions already dialed in every day. I'm along the lines of what Dave does. For me, if it gets in my calendar, it gets done. So I sort of made myself a commitment long ago when I was a lot flakier than I am today, and I still don't execute it at 100%, but I execute it at a really high level. If it gets in my calendar, it happens, and so I schedule the time, and I schedule the place, and then I schedule what it is that I'm going to be doing. Because I liked what both of them said. If it's not, doesn't say in there what they're going to be working on, it's kind of hard, right? There's less of a pull if it just says, "Hey, I'm going to do a jam session," and you got to show up there and sit and think about what you're going to do. Just grab a folder. I've got a folder, and my world, I call it On Time, is my jam session. I've got an On Time folder. It's in my desk or it's in my backpack, and I'm just throwing ideas in there as I go. I've got a same folder on my computer, and so I've always got things that are ready to be worked on. And so just think through, what would be the best way for you to implement that. If it's put it on your calendar, then put it on your calendar. Give it a try. You just have to kind of think, is this really going to be important to you? I really enjoyed this call because we started off with, great input from Katie and others on this call. Thank you guys for raising your hands and jumping in. Give us your feedback. Dave's got his poll up. We really do want to hear what you guys thought of the call. Definitely reach out to any of us via Facebook if you have any other suggestions. This call's about you guys, and so we're trying to do a change up a little bit of making sure that we're talking really in the relevancy of what's going on in the market. That's what a true mastermind is about, as well as making sure that we don't forget the roots of this call, which is insane productivity and marrying those two. So we'll be here back next week, same time, same place, and look forward to seeing all of you here. Appreciate it. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Michele, if you can hear us, and most of all, thanks to all of you for being here.
Thanks. Have a good week.
Take care, everybody, and vote on the way out. Let us know how we executed for you, and really let us know if we can do anything to edit the structure of this call or the way we run it. We are here for you. Bye now. Have an awesome weekend.